So this is a training on Padlet from Julia Lanter from the Exeter Public Library. Take it away, Julia.
Hi, folks. So can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to start today with Padlet. So the first thing I want to just say at the beginning of this, I always think it's good for the talking heads to say who they are and their experience with what they're talking about. So I'm Julia Lanter with Exeter Public Library. And my experience with Padlet was actually through, I'm a COSLA T3 trainer. So we had training with Padlet to help us communicate among our librarian selves. But we also discussed how we could potentially use that for teens. So we're going to be focusing on Padlet and teens for this part of the presentation. So we'll go forward. Let's see here. All right. So why play with Padlet? I'm not sure about all of you guys, but I know that a lot of us are one librarian youth service ponies who don't have a lot of time on our hands. So Padlet is a very quick setup. I think you could probably plug and play in under 5 minutes as a new user. And it's a quick, easy way to make communicating boards. I kind of think of it as Pinterest boards, but for communicating ideas. So why play with Padlet? Padlet is a community bulletin board where users can write, upload links and photos on a publicly accessible website. And what's also nice is you as a moderator see everything before it goes up. That's one of the settings I'll be walking you folks through. So if you're worried about having someone put up something inappropriate, you are the stopgap for all of that. A little bit different than Discord, where Discord you can monitor new users, but this way you see it before it even happens. So with Padlet, you can share up to 3 boards for free, and I have never needed more than the free account. If you are a larger library, I'm thinking more Manchester or Nashua, you might want to consider a professional account, but I've talked to other libraries in other states and they seem to all be using the free account and managing. What's nice is when they're talking about 3 boards, they're talking about 3 active boards. So if you have boards from the past that you know you're not going to be using in the upcoming couple of months, you can set them in an archive and use them later and they won't disappear. So with Padlet, you have those 3 boards. You also can create a space for teens or fellow coworkers to collaborate. They can be used for online instruction, book groups, teen advisory board, brainstorming, program recommendations, and much, much more. So if you're getting started with Padlet, first is you're going to go to padlet.com. You're going to sign up for free, which is right there on that little pink, kind of looks like a pink pill. Then you're going to sign up. There's 2 different ways. You can sign up with a already existing Google, Microsoft, or Apple account, or you can create a new password and a username. And then, of course, you're going to choose your membership settings. And this is where, again, I highly recommend the basic, which is free forever. I like that forever bit as well. And again, I have not come across many libraries that have used the Pro, but there is the Pro option, which is unlimited Padlets for $8 a month. So once you're in, that's literally all you have to do to sign up. Next, you're going to play. So you're going to make a Padlet. Again, click the pink pill button. And this is going to bring you to the 8 templates that they have for Padlets. And as you see here, I've circled 3 of my favorite formats for Padlet. We're going to try the one that has the green arrow by it called Shelf, which has columns, which I find a little bit easier for organization. There's also the Wall, which to me kind of thinks of a big bulletin board or a, if you ever got married and we're doing like an idea board, kind of one of those formats where you can have pictures and articles And then you also have a grid, which I think of as a little bit more of a formal board. So those are my 3 favorites. Back channel, it makes it look like a chat box setting, so I don't find that particularly useful because there's a lot of scrolling. And map, I could see maybe some people using that in conjunction to if you had, like, I don't know, read Lord of the Rings in a book group and wanted to put up like a map of the territories. And then there's also a timeline, which again might be helpful if you're reading a historical book. So we've picked our format. We're going to go with the grid, and we're going to now modify that. So you're going to create the actual Padlet. So on this, you're going to name your Padlet. You're going to describe what it is. And it's also going to give you a really specific link to access that. What I like about Padlet is that you can change that link, and I'll show you how to do that later on. Going backwards in time. All right, before we go any further, I do want to discuss privacy. Obviously, COPPA and SIPA are very important. I'm not a lawyer, so I can't give legal advice, but I highly recommend you talk with your crew about privacies and Padlets. The nice thing is your users don't have to sign up for Padlet, but it is good to lock it down for your users. If you read the user agreement for Padlet, they say for any users 13 and under, it's basically on you, the person creating the Padlet, not on Padlet, the corporation. So they kind of wash their hands for 13 and unders. What you're going to do is, if you are really hyper-focused on privacy, I recommend turning on required approval. That's what I was talking about a little bit before, about how everything that gets posted first goes through you to approve. You can also, I especially recommend for under 13-year-olds, keeping it anonymous. That way you don't have to worry so much about COPPA. And also, I think it's fun for comments and reactions. If you're worried about negative comments or reactions, the good news, again, is any actions you can require approval on. But that just gives people a way to respond to what people are posting on the boards. So now you want to make this easy to find. So you're going to adjust the name. You don't have to do this, but for example, I'm going to pretend I'm doing a book group on To Kill a Mockingbird. So I'm going to make my Padlet called To Kill a Mockingbird, so the link is a little bit easier for people to find. And that's it. Literally in 5 minutes, you've set up your Padlet for a discussion, and people can start posting. You can create categories on it. For example, in this, you see I have some categories like who is the hero of the novel, and Scout, Brave, or Brat. And to use the actual tool, people just click on that plus icon, and they can add their comment to your questions. They can write something. They can add a link. They can also add a document, a photo, and more. So they can do a lot of usability. And what's nice about this is it's, again, it kind of gives a linear view in this viewpoint that we've chosen, but you can have other views where they just throw everything up on the board at once. So you can kind of go work to your navigate to your heart's content. And speaking of navigation, how about editing and using the actual Padlet? You're going to see this menu bar, the purple bar at the top. That's going to have your account settings, general settings, modifying your Padlet, ways to share, copying your Padlet if you want to put it somewhere else or include it in a web page. And you can also save your Padlet if it's one that you want to use again. This is just a view of editing. So say you made a Padlet and decided you've changed your mind, you don't like the font, the color, the background is too busy. You can change that up all in the edit mode, or what they call modify. In share, this is where you can change privacy rules. And again, this is an important step, because what you're going to want to do here is, I recommend, if you're going to have a group of teens use this, having a secure password, and keeping the Padlet secret. The password, for obvious reasons, you can hand that out to individual peoples, kind of like how Alex was talking in her Discord discussion about how she kind of pre-approved all her users. The secret, that basically just hides the Padlet from general users locating it. So that way you can keep it, again, a little bit more secure. And this is a view of your actual home screen. So as you see, I've created one first To Kill a Mockingbird Padlet. Took me about a minute to create. And when you get here, there's a 3-dot menu on the actual individual Padlet. And that allows you to archive it if you want to use it later, to delete it, or to use it. And what I love about Padlet is it's made for people like me who are sometimes regret their actions, getting a little too fast. So things like deleting, they actually make you put in a code before you completely delete the Padlet from their system. Things to remember, these are just a little kind of summary of what I just discussed. You can change the layout to see posts in synchronous order. You can change privacy settings to bonify, to have it be able to email, to have a password, or to make it public or private. And you can share or export buttons to download it. And that's in that share setting that I had showed you before. And here's a little more potential uses for library group activities, evaluation. That's one thing I think I could see us use for adult programmings, like having a quick Padlet link that you share with everyone at the end of a program where they can give you an evaluation of the program. Quick, easy assessment tool. I like the non-threatening there. I think it's a nice, fun way. Brainstorming and hosting discussion forums. So now I kind of want to have us start to play with Padlet in actuality. So I'm going to get out of this share mode. Let's see, yeah. In theory. Cat, I'm not seeing the end share.
It should be next to your, oh, did you do it? Where your mic camera is, there's a button that says screen. Do you see anywhere that has your, it says mic camera. I might be able to see.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can turn off your screen.
Yeah, the cancel is not working, sadly. Well, while we're doing this, in the chat box on GoToMeeting, I've shared a link to a Padlet. So. See here.
Oh, I think you did it.
Yay, okay. All right, sorry about that. I think they call that technical difficulties. Yep, and someone asked the Mockingbird one. Yes, so if you go up to the top, there's a Padlet.com, New Hampshire Wedding Singer, To Kill a Mockingbird. So if you click on that, you can go in your own computer screens or chat and see a Padlet at work. So you can add a plus button, put in a comment, save it, and play around. And this is something, if you guys, I'll keep this up. So if you want to play later, I know we only have about 6 minutes for questions. So I'm going to leave that open, but we can kind of play here. And if anyone has questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Julia, have you used this in Exeter yet?
We haven't used it in Exeter yet. I've used it for adult librarian trainings, and I found it to be very, very helpful. I find that it really has a lot of uses, especially for book groups. I know we're all wondering how to use Zoom with under 13-year-olds. And because of the usage rights, you are allowed to use this with under 13-year-olds. So definitely thinking of doing that.
That's a good idea. Are there any other questions about Padlet? Does it work well on a mobile device or just on laptops?
Good question, Chandra. That it actually works very well in a mobile device. It doesn't have a devoted app, but again, if they have that link, they can pull that right up on any smaller screen. I've tried it on an iPad and I've tried it on a Apple iPhone, and it worked great on both. And is there a way to highlight a section of YA titles for one of the Padlet? Susan, could you talk about that a little bit more?
Yes, I just wondered, since a lot of us are doing curbside, I was under the impression that you could highlight titles, maybe pick 5 or 6 titles, show covers of books, maybe in one genre, as one of the Padlets, or am I mistaken?
You absolutely can. It works great for Reader's Advisory.
You
could create a whole one. You could have links. You could have pictures of books. You could have videos. You could download quick videos of yourself on book talking a book.
Okay.
Again, the nice thing is it's for under 13-year-olds, and they don't have to have a user account with Padlet to access those. They just need that link.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I know that was a whirlwind, so if anyone ever has any questions, I've put my contact up in the chat, and I'm happy to walk you through it, but literally 5 minutes to set up. So if you're a busy YA librarian, I think that's a nice, easy way to go. And if you're not super technical and don't know how to create a web page, it's a great way you can just link that right to your own library website.
That's great. Does anyone else have any final questions for Julia about Padlet? Okay. Well, thank you, Julia. I think there's a lot of things that we could, oh, sorry, go ahead, Susan.
No, I was just gonna say thank you.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different ways we can use that. I'm excited about that. So we're gonna take another little break here, and then next up, Julia will be back with some Zoom Pro training. So
I'll hang here in between, so if anyone thinks of any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Perfect. Thanks, Julia.
Great question, Susan, by the way.
I miss seeing you in Exeter.
We'll be open soon enough.
Bye.